everybody, and welcome to Everything Vaguely Paranormal. I'm Shelley Pruitt, and my partners in the paranormal, Mr. Blake Smith and Mr. Ryan Roberts. Good evening, gentlemen.
How's it going?
Happening?
Hey, it's all about whatever. Is this how we're going to start?
Right. What is happening?
I'm telling you, this is one that I know that this is a story that I learned about a couple of years ago, and it's one that's always interested me because it's a lesser known cryptid. So, how much do you guys know about the Beast of Gévaudan?
I know absolutely zero about this one, and cryptids are kind of in my wheelhouse, and I don't know anything about this.
I found something you didn't know anything about.
I'm excited about it.
You're our cryptid king, man. I almost said cryptid queen. Sorry, man. Cryptid king, man. Well, Shelley's leading tonight. Sorry. How do you not know anything about the Beast of Gévaudan?
This is just one I think that just slipped through the cracks for me. I don't know anything about it. I'm excited to learn.
I mean, I'm giving you shit, and I know nothing about it either. But
I don't care how this episode goes because I already won. I found something Ryan knew nothing about. But tonight we're going to be talking about the Beast of Gévaudan. And whenever you say it, you have to say Gévaudan. Try it.
Gévaudan.
Yeah, see? Oh my God. And by the way, for those of you who didn't know, this is a two-way camera. And I just saw all the people watching go, Gévaudan. I saw you do it. Ha ha. Anyway, so let's get started and learn a little bit about the Beast of Gévaudan.
Let's do it.
So France is a country famous for wine and food and for chauvinism and existential dread. But before your average French folk had the time, the leisure time and the espresso and the cigarettes necessary to do deep thinking on unhappiness, they were dealing with another kind of crisis in France. Yes, exactly. And this was one that involved a forest-dwelling creature that enjoyed hunting humans. And while the murderous spree only lasted a few years, who or what killed the villagers of Gévaudan remains a mystery to this day. The bloody and costly 7 Years' War had just ended, and it had left deep scars in the psyche of many European nations, France included, and had left many a monarch broke in its wake. France was in a serious slump. The nation had lost battles to Prussia and the British, and Louis XV had lost the bulk of his country's overseas empire, including Canada. The economic situation was dire, and the country was in disarray, and most of the peasants were starving, and they loathed Louis XV, and they were leaving the church in droves, and whispers of revolution were in the air. Now, Gévaudan is the kind of place where you could imagine the most vicious of the Grimm brothers' fairy tales taking place. But in reality, it was more brutal than any book. It is an isolated, rugged, and rural spot in the south of France, largely cut off from the outside world. The terrain is rough and the mountains and very mountainous, and it's far too rocky to grow crops. And it's also surrounded by a vast forest full of packs of hungry wolves. And
lovely.
Outlaws.
Damn.
There's outlaws in there too. And the locals eked out a living in the hills by tending to livestock, and everyone worked. Children were expected to tend sheep and cattle, while the adults managed the farms and worked to coax what little crops they could from the uncooperative soil. And from a young age, the children worked alone out in the elements. Yeah, little, like 4, 5, 6, 7.
Jimmy, I know there are packs of roving wolves in the woods, but why don't you go to that field so far away from the house and plow for me? Thank you.
No, not plow. The little ones didn't plow. They tended the sheep and the cattle and things like that.
But still, and you got free dinner with you, and so you're just going to be the appetizer.
And everyone knew that they had to be constantly on the lookout for wild predators who were always in search of a free and easy meal. Now, the residents lived close to nature, so superstition and folklore were not just stories, but they were considered accurate accounts, and the forests were thought to be enchanted. And for the most part, life there was peaceful until about 1764. Between 1764 and 1767, something evil stalked the quiet hills of Gévaudan.
It's Mothman.
The The poor peasant province was catapulted into the consciousness of France when it was set upon by a beast. Early in April of 1764, a young woman was tending her cattle just beyond the edge of the forest. She heard a rustling in the trees and turned to investigate the noise. And to her horror, a huge beast came bolting out of the forest. It was the size of a calf with an unusually broad chest, and she saw a huge mouth full of canine teeth and fiery eyes. The beast had a shaggy reddish mane with a dark line running down its spine. The beast wasn't interested in the cattle, it was interested in her. The beast lunged at the girl with amazing speed and dexterity, and with nothing to defend herself, she ran into her herd of cows, putting several large bulls between herself and the beast. And to her surprise, the animals began to defend her. The bulls began to charge and stomp the beast, and the fight continued until the beast finally retreated and ran back into the forest. The girl had been saved by her bovine defenders. By the way, that's who I'm rooting for in the Super Bowl, is the bovine defenders.
The Cowboys
Bovine.
and Moo Mesa. No, it's very interesting that they were, because normally these animals are trying to save themselves and running away, but they staved this thing off to make sure she was okay.
She ran into
unusual.
the middle of the herd, so it looked as if the beast was coming towards them. Cattle will kind of circle up and defend, especially if there's young.
Yeah.
So there could have been younger cows in the center, and so it might not actually, they might not have actually been defending her, but they might have been defending their young. But either way, she felt like the cattle had saved her. So the girl, go ahead.
It has this long spike. I'm gonna put that picture back up. So it has this long spiky thing along its back.
A dark ridge of hair along its back. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So it kind of ran the length of its spine.
But remind me really quick: is it walks on fours? Did she say? Did she ever indicate?
She doesn't report.
Okay.
So, but she did go down. The girl quickly went down and reported the incident to the church. She described the creature as like a wolf, yet not a wolf. But her account was dismissed and she was turned away. Local officials didn't believe that there was a beast in the forest and thought it was probably only just a large wolf. You silly, silly girl. A few months later, in June of 1764, a 14-year-old shepherdess named Jeanne Boulet was tending her flock of sheep, and from the woods came a beast, and the poor girl never had a chance. Jeanne Boulet was torn apart.
Oh my God!
I'm sorry. I was not expecting that picture. What the hell?
It looks like Large Marge from Pee Wee Picture.
It does. I'm sorry, Shelly. I was truly listening to your story. I was not expecting that picture to look like that.
Oh, wow.
Wow. Okay.
So Large Marge ate Robert Goulet.
Shit. Whew.
We all composed.
We're
talking about the death of a 14-year-old.
I'm sorry. Hey, listen, when you have that picture pop up.
Yeah.
Whew, shit. All right, go ahead. Sorry.
But poor Jeanne Boulet, she was torn apart. And when her body was found, it was a terrible display. Her throat was ripped and her organs had been devoured.
Ooh.
Her death was the first recorded fatal attack of the Beast of Gévaudan.
Oh, so they actually put it down as being recorded that was what
it was
caused
recorded
her death.
as, yes.
Okay.
And it seemed now that the beast had developed a taste for humans. Her attack was followed by others, and it was almost exclusively women and children. A month later, a 15-year-old girl was badly mauled by the beast, and she barely lived long enough to give a description of the large and deadly creature. With her dying breath, she described the animal as a horrible, horrible beast. In September of 1764, a young shepherd boy disappeared near the village of Laval. His partially eaten remains were found in the hills. And it was around this point that the people started to entertain the possibility that a monster was lurking in their midst.
Yeah, I'd be damned if I would be herding sheep and cattle next to the woods at that point. I'd be packing something.
Now, the beast and its victims might have gone virtually unnoticed, if not for the burgeoning press of the time. The end of the 7 Years' War had left a void in the news circuit. And because political news was mostly censored by the king, newspapers had to turn to other sources of information and entertainment in order to bolster subscriptions. Francois Moranis, creator and editor of the Courier, I'm Texan, okay? I'm gonna do my best. Of the Courier d'Avignon, and devised a new type of reporting called Faits Divers. These were stories of everyday incidents in small villages, very similar to today's true crime stories. And Francois reported on the attacks, skillfully embellishing the rather deficient news that came from the field. The story ran in the paper within weeks, the Beast of Gévaudan was transformed from a backwoods calamity into a national affair. And throughout 1764, the brutal attacks, victims with their throats torn out or their heads gnawed off, riveted France.
Ooh.
The violence was so shocking that the news of it traveled from the countryside all the way to the royal palace in Versailles. What was this beast, and who could stop its reign of terror? Now, the attacks continued, and the victims ranged from lone men to women and children who were just tending their animals. And the horrible disfigurement and mangled bodies of the victims suggested that the beast was very powerful and had a propensity to play with its food. And when going in for the kill, the beast often went for the head or neck and ripping the throats or crushing the skulls of the unfortunate.
Ooh.
Bodies were being found all over the region of Gévaudan. The sudden explosion of attacks led some to believe that they were in fact looking for two beasts, because no wolf could traverse the rocky hills with the speed in which the beast moved. And as the killings increased, the clergy called the attacks the work of God in hopes of bringing people back into the church.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah, the God sent the cryptid to eat your face. Okay.
Yeah, this is all God. Yeah. Maybe it was just a oversized sewer rat.
Well, it worked. And soon the pews were filled with villagers pleading for deliverance from the beast. But their prayers went unanswered. The beast continued its rampage, and still no one knew exactly what kind of creature was hunting them. And artist renderings did little to clarify the description of the beast. Survivors of the attacks all described the general physicality of a wolf, but larger than the typical wolf. And it ranged in size from a small calf to as big as a horse. The fur was described as red with a black stripe on its back, or jet black and made to appear to melt into the night. That looks pretty ferocious to me.
It's like a chow.
What the fuck kind of pictures are we?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to keep it together. I know
this is an artist rendering. So you see, they're. I mean, this looks like you could kick it and it run off, but
I mean, not necessarily. There is a decapitated body under its feet.
That's true. Right. That's true. So the witnesses also described the head and the legs as having short hair that was the color of a deer, and that the tail was long with tufts of fur on the end. Some described it as having a large head with a long snout, either calf or pig or wolf-like. Big claws or hooves, big paws with hooves for claws, or talons on the feet were also part of the description.
So there's no real good description. It's just people, it's a telephone.
Yeah, and it apparently had laser eyes that glowed in the darkness. And the beast seemed to possess supernatural abilities as well. The movements were swift like the wind, and it could stand on its hind legs, and it had the amazing ability to leap high into the air, sometimes up to 10 feet. Some claimed the beast had bulletproof skin and a Lazarus-like ability to return from the dead. It was described as an ambush hunter that stalked its prey and seized it by the throat or the head. And the wound found on the bodies were typically to the head and the limbs, with the remains of 16 victims decapitated.
Holy shit, 16?
Now, the creature prowled in the evenings and in the mornings. But no matter what the description, it was clear that the peasants had never seen an animal like this before. Now, the people of Gévaudan were at a serious disadvantage because, you see, they weren't allowed to own guns. Only members of the military and certain noblemen in France could own guns. The local people were only able to defend themselves with the weapons that they could craft. Sharpened stones or iron tied to sticks were used for protection, as well as rocks, slingshots, hammers, and ordinary farming tools.
We'll see. There goes Ryan's theory of I'll carry something with me. I'll be packing.
Right.
Sorry, my man. You got a slingshot with some rocks. Have fun. Go tend to the cattle.
Well, now I'm wondering how they know if the skin was bulletproof. They can't have guns.
wait. Right. Hold on. Wait. This don't make sense.
No.
I'm giving you descriptions. I didn't say they were in order of how they came in.
Oh, okay.
Gotcha.
Okay. So the terrified population of Gévaudan did not sit idle, though. Individual stories of bravery captivated the public. Bounties were offered, and hunters that had been allowed weapons combed the countryside looking for the creature. On October 8th of 1764, just hours after a mauling, the beast was seen at Chateau de la Baume, stalking a herdsman. The alarm was raised, and the hunters rushed to the estate. They followed the animal into the woods and flushed it out into the open. When it was in their sights, a volley of musket fire was shot at the creature, and the beast fell. But within moments, almost magically, the beast leapt to its feet and ran away.
So that's how they know. Okay, I got it.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Right. Now, by the winter of 1764, the attacks on the people of Gévaudan had created a national fervor. The media pressure pushed King Louis to action. Discredited by the loss of the war, he needed to affirm his ability to protect the kingdom. So the king intervened. He offered a reward equal to what most men would have earned in a year. Tens of thousands, and that number is right, tens of thousands of hunters descended onto the region of Gévaudan. And King Louis sent Dragoon Captain Jean-Baptiste Duhamel and royal troops to Gévaudan in order to find and kill the beast. Now, I'm going to tell you, again, I'm Texan, so I'm going to do my best with these names. Etienne Lafont, a regional government delegate, and Captain John Beast Duhamel, the leader of the local infantry, joined forces and organized the first concerted effort to rid the region of the beast. And for men like Duhamel, the hunt was a way to redeem himself. You see, he had had a few bad experiences in the war, and now he was in search of a little redemption. And the challenge of defeating the beast was a perfect way to redeem himself. And Duhamel, he expected a quick victory. But in the rugged country, terrible weather, the beast's cunning quickly proved to be more challenging than expected. Duhamel organized a series of hunts, some consisting of 20,000 or more men, with the singular purpose of ridding the land of the beast. And as winter wore on, Duhamel became increasingly desperate. He ordered hunters to dress up as women and use children as live bait to lure out the beast.
Shut the fuck up.
Now, how do you choose the kids?
I was gonna say, how do you choose? Like, I mean, well, little Gary, he broke into the candy factory. I don't know why I went Swedish instead of French, but I can't do France. Ryan, do it. I'm just kidding.
Oh, man.
We're so gonna be canceled in France after this
I think we already are.
Unreal, probably.
There is the beast. He comes out the woods.
Thank you, Pepe Le Pew. So Duhamel also laid traps with poison bait, but to no avail. He even tried You're going to love this. Tying a sheep to a stake, outfitted in a bonnet and a dress in order to entice the beast.
Okay, number one, poor little sheep. I mean, you're
Right.
just here. We're gonna just here you go, lamb chop. We're just gonna put you out here real quick, but then you're gonna put him in drag first too.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes, sheep's in drag.
damn.
But nonetheless, nothing worked. And the men, even though the men were highly motivated, they wanted to stop the beast, but they also hungered for that reward money, which again was more than an average year's salary. Well, after getting no results, King Louis upped that ante to 6,000 livres. Now, I've seen lots of conversions as to how this would be, as in today's money, that amount, the closest I can come is about $50,000.
Oh,
wow.
So
I might be out there traipsing for it.
King
myself.
Louis even getting desperate to find this thing. Go ahead,
So
Brian, were you gonna say something?
I was to say, so as the one hunter, he is like in charge of this whole operation.
Yes, Duhamel was sent by the king,
Yes,
and he joined
Duhamel.
forces with Etienne in order to Etienne Lafont in order to, that's kind of the local guy to team up and try to find this, because the king told Duhamel, go find this thing.
So, but is he, if he finds it, does he get that money, or whoever finds it gets it? Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. So that's a lot of money to split between somebody.
So whenever this bounty amount got out, this bounty attracted hunters from far and wide that wanted to try their hand in the hunt.
Right.
And Duhamel described the animal with a breast as wide as a horse, a body as long as a leopard, and fur that is red with a black stripe. And he concluded in his description with his own little theory, stating, "You will undoubtedly think, like I do, that this is a monster, the father of which is a lion, and what its mother is remains to be seen."
All right.
Now, go ahead.
I was just saying, so father, that's okay. So we got a lot of different descriptions about this thing.
That's right.
So like chest as big as a horse. Now we're saying it has a little bit of a lion attitude to it, or a look to it. Okay. All right. I'm sitting here leaning towards maybe just really so far maybe an oversized wolf.
That's what I'm saying.
Like a rogue oversized wolf so far.
We will discuss the theories.
Okay.
So there were a handful of sightings, and the beast was reported to have been shot on several occasions, but each time, again, magically, it rose from the dead and escaped. Now, on January 12th of 1765, a group of 7 children, 5 boys and 2 girls, were tending to a herd of sheep. They ranged in age from 6 to 12. They were playing with their sharpened sticks that they had been given to carry for protection, and amidst the childish laughter and playfulness, 10-year-old Jacques Portefeuille suddenly snapped to attention. He noticed an animal lurking at the edge of the forest, and he called for the other children to hurry back to the group because he had seen the beast. As the children began to run back towards Jacques and the herd, the beast lunged from the woods and snatched up a little boy who was only 6 years old by the cheek and began to drag him away.
Oh, shit.
Jacques and the other children ran towards the creature, hitting and stabbing at it with the pointed end of their sticks, and they fought the animal until it dropped the child. But they weren't safe. The beast was not going to be denied a meal, and it came at the children again with a ferocity that would have made a grown man run. It grabbed and knocked down the other small boy, grabbing him by the arm and dragging him away. All of the children continued to attack the beast, but he refused to let go of the child. Jacques and another 12-year-old boy forced the beast to a mud hole where they pummeled him with blows on his head.
Damn.
The beast dropped the child and snapped at Jacques, leaving teeth marks in his homemade pike. Working together, he shouted at the children to swat and stab at the beast with their wooden poles. And finally, they managed to scare it off, and it retreated into the woods. The commotion was heard by the local farmers who rushed to the aid of the children, but they arrived after the beast was gone. Now, Jacques Portefeuille was heralded as a hero for saving the group of children, and his valiant efforts made its way all the way to the king. King Louis XV was so impressed by the courage of the child that he paid a reward to all the children, and Jacques was educated at the king's personal expense.
Damn.
Hell yeah.
So all these children, they were what, like 6 to 12-ish?
6 to 12. There were 5 boys and 3 girls.
Right. And this, whatever this is extremely durable if it's withstanding all these stabs and getting knocked upside the head several times.
They basically had little sharpened sticks to defend themselves with. And they worked together and they fought it off. You know. So by the late winter and after the story of the children's encounter, Duhamel was bitter and broken. He had tried everything he could think to do. They got wolves, but not the wolf. And they had sat up over bodies and rigged every trap, but had failed to capture the beast. And the king replaced him. You know that couldn't have boded well.
No.
Duhamel, get
Damn.
back
No.
That's the reason you get replaced.
here. In February,
You didn't catch the furry beasts.
Well, some kids fought it off.
Right.
Now, Duhamel
Yeah.
really looked stupid.
The king was, you have been bested by a child. Away with you.
Yes. Now, in February of 1765, famous wolf hunters from Normandy, Jean-Charles Denneval and his son, were brought in to finish the job that Duhamel was unable to complete. Jean-Charles, I'm going to try to use their first names because they all kind of end in D here, so I'm going to use their first names. Jean-Charles was rumored to have killed thousands of wolves during his career, and he was given a hero's welcome when he arrived. The newspapers called him Hercules, and he was touted as the one that could save Gévaudan. But the hype quickly wore off. The killings continued at a rate of 4 or 5 a month. And Denneval kept the men of the countryside busy in continual series of hunts. So much that normal life was impossible, and the farms and villages buzzed with criticism. Farms couldn't be worked, and money couldn't be made to pay taxes. And during the course of the hunts, the beast was seen and was thought that it might have a mate.
Okay, question for you real quick. So are these 4 to 5 a month on top of the 16 that happened previously, or is that 16 all of these that we're going through now?
No, we're adding to the number.
Oh, shit. Okay.
After Jean-Charles arrives, there is still 4 to 5 a month of these beast attacks occurring.
Okay, so that's 16 that were the victims earlier that you said. That was a whole little separate time period. We're now
that was
4 to
before
5.
Duhamel arrived. There were 16 before Duhamel arrived. Then Duhamel gets there and the attacks continue at a rate of I think that there were almost 20 during when Duhamel was there. Now Denneval is here. And they're continuing at a rate of 4 to 5 a month. These people were literally being stalked
and
by
these
something
are
in the woods.
ones that are documented and attributed to this beast.
Yes.
Wow.
And like I said, during the course of these hunts, the beast was seen and it was actually thought to have a mate. Now, on May 19th, a lady was killed, and in true wolf fashion, the beast returned later to revisit its kill. And Jean-Charles Denneval got an idea. He ordered that the bodies of the victims be laced with strychnine and left where they were found in an effort to poison the beast. The delay of burial of the victims was horrifying to the local people. The unpopular measures and his failure to remove the beast got Denneval and his son recalled back to France by King Louis. And the killings continued. Hysteria swept through southern France, and rumors of revolution began to spread. And King Louis, fearing for his throne, put a huge bounty on the beast. He wanted that creature, dead or alive, and the reward for the beast head was raised to 10,000 livres, the equivalent of $500,000 in today's money.
Shit, he wasn't playing.
Shit, well, give me some camo and a pointy stick. My ass will be out.
Ryan be out there. I reckon that's where he at. You wouldn't fare too well, my friend. You would not fare too well.
I ain't got no reason to kill no beast.
Now, in June of 1765, King Louis sent in the army, professional hunters, and his personal huntsman and wolf catcher, Francois Anton, and Francois' son,
Hold on.
to handle this problem.
He got a man with a title named Wolf Catcher.
He does. It was the king's personal wolf catcher.
Damn,
Okay, is that an
I'm-
elected official?
I'm like, damn, I want a wolf catcher. I want to be.
Hell yeah.
Where can I be king of to get me a wolf catcher?
Exactly.
That's
Now, as
cool.
terrified as the locals were of the beast, they were almost more afraid of the king's army. And they gave the soldiers and the hunters the cold shoulder when they arrived. Now, on August 11th of 1765, 19-year-old Marie I'm Texan. 19-year-old Marie Jean Vallée was walking with her sister along a river when they were suddenly attacked by the beast. Armed with only a stick and with sharpened metal lashed to the end, she squared up to the beast and readied herself to defend. She fought the monster bravely. She stabbed at the creature with her homemade spear, landing a deep chest wound to the beast. The creature let out a bellow and retreated into the forest. The epic battle was over and she had been victorious. But she won no royal platitudes and was given no money or free education. But she did become known as the Maid of Gévaudan. And in 1995, a statue was erected in her honor to commemorate the bravery of a young girl who fought off the beast with a makeshift bayonet.
I find this so interesting so far that all these deaths are actually kind of documented to this beast.
Right.
Now we have
Mhm.
a region giving a statue dedicated to a beast. Ooh, okay.
Now, a large wolf was the likely suspect for the killer beast. So Antoine's army called open season on any wolf spotted in the forest. Over 100 wolves were massacred. But the beast attacks continued. The hunters noticed a difference between wolves and the animal that they were calling the beast. Wolves generally drop when they're shot. However, the beast, even after being hit several times, seemed to shake off the shots. And amongst the army began to circulate a rumor that a mastiff dog-wolf hybrid had been bred by those ungrateful locals and sent out into the woods in a pig's hide for armor. How else would bullets just appear to bounce off the beast?
Who the hell has these ideas?
Come here, Sparky. Let me strap a pigskin to you and send you out to the woods.
So now the army is thinking that it's some kind of hybrid dog wolf, predator
Right.
that,
Right.
Francois
covered in
over here
pigskin.
wrapped in a pigskin so bullets would bounce off of it.
Okay.
Because how else would bullets just bounce off the beast? FYI, guns in the 1760s had a range of about 100 yards. And an expert musketeer could maybe get off a shot every 20 seconds. So it wasn't like it was rapid fire. So Antoine, his son, and the detachment of men traipsed around the forested countryside in search of the beast. At last, in September of 1765, Antoine came upon the prize, a wolf of enormous size. He quickly raised his musket and fired on the beast. He was certain he had just killed the Beast of Gévaudan. He had the body stuffed and delivered to the court at Versailles, and King Louis was satisfied that the terror in the province had been eliminated. He paid Antoine the reward, and Antoine accepted the gratitude of the villagers. King Louis claimed a huge victory and amidst much celebration declared the mission a success. And he put the carcass of the beast on display. But after a couple of weeks, the foul odor of the rotting corpse was just too much, and King Louis ordered it removed and it was discarded. 2 brief months later, the attacks began again. The wolf apparently had been framed. For another 18 months, something stalked the villagers of Gévaudan. 30 to 35 fatalities were reported in that period.
Damn.
The king, believing that the beast had already been slain, offered no help to the frightened townspeople. The royal court had lost interest. The story had played itself out, and the public attention had moved on to other issues. With no help coming from outside the region, the locals took matters into their own hands. A local nobleman, Marquis d'Apature, organized another hunt in June of 1767. Local farmer and wolf hunter John Chastel was asked to aid in finding the beast. He had assisted Antoine, the king's guy who allegedly shot the beast first time, in previous hunts. But you see, Antoine had thrown him in jail for leading his men into a bog in pursuit of the beast. I guess that they got embarrassed, they got muddy. I don't know.
You ruined my good boots.
Yes. Now, most of the peasants had tried to use poison to kill the wolves, but you see, John Chastel owned a gun, a flintlock.
Well.
And Chastel had also bred and trained his own wolfhounds and regularly tracked and killed troublesome wolves for the villagers. And when the king's men had failed to rid them of the beast, the villagers implored Chastel to help. So Chastel agreed and he joined the hunt. June 19th, 1767, 12 huntsmen and their dogs spotted the beast near the edge of the woods. They surrounded it and forced it into the clearing where John Chastel lay in wait. By his side, a gun, a prayer book, and 2 bullets blessed by a priest made of a silver metal that he had melted down.
Oh, shit. Okay.
This is where it comes from.
The creature saw him and paused. The animal stared at Chastel with gleaming dark eyes. It crouched low and snarled. Chastel steadied his hand and squeezed the trigger. He fired only once. The bullet pierced the animal through the throat, and there in the clearing, the Beast of Gévaudan lay dead. The reign of terror had ended.
Huh. So
now, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No.
Yeah.
The animal was cut open and an autopsy was performed. And inside the stomach of the beast, human remains were found. The beast had non-wolf characteristics as described by the witnesses, and the people could not determine exactly what the animal was that lay in front of them. But it was definitely a predator, because after John Chastel killed the beast, the killings stopped. There were over 113 people killed by the beast.
God almighty.
49 more were injured, but lived, and 98 separate bodies were found partially eaten. The exact victim count is unknown, but it's estimated to be upwards of 300 victims in total.
Jesus.
And we know that this tragedy and these incidents occurred because they were recorded in the church records of the time. Today, the debate still continues over what this animal was that stalked the people of Gévaudan. Now, here are some of the theories. The big bad wolf. Most historians believe it was a wolf, or more likely a pack of wolves. However, wolves don't normally prey on humans and tend to be shy and run away.
Yeah.
How about the big badass wolf? Yes. The werewolf theory is another circulated reason for the Beast of Gévaudan. The local culture, unfamiliar with the world beyond their own home, often attributed unexplained events to the supernatural world. So a werewolf was definitely in play.
Well, and that's
yeah.
I mean, that's not unheard of at the time. I mean, honestly, like when they didn't know what was happening back then during this time, it didn't matter where you were at in the world. They always attributed it to the supernatural world. Right. You know, that there was something supernatural about it. Go ahead, Ryan.
And do we know if because you said it, he shot them with a silver bullet. He shot the creature with a silver bullet. Is that where killing a werewolf with a silver bullet comes from?
Actually,
or was
it
that...
is.
Okay.
Actually, it is. That is the origin of silver kills werewolves. Yes.
Okay.
Now, our next theory is it's a dire wolf. Now, a dire wolf is a real animal that existed back in the Ice Age. Sightings of it now are considered to be a type of cryptid that's known as a relic, meaning it's an isolated example of an animal that's thought to be extinct. But technically, the dire wolf was in North America, For Gévaudan, France, it would be more likely to be some type of Pleistocene wolf or Pleistocene. I'm from Texas. Leave me alone. But if you're going to go with this theory that it's a dire wolf or a type of dire wolf, you're going to have to explain the survival of the relic and how it went undiscovered with no bodies, no babies, and no impact on the food chain. So we're probably going to rule that one out. The next theory is, could it be a hound of Baskervilles? Another theory is that it's a hound hybrid like those in the story written by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. It could have been a large dog like a bull mastiff that was crossbred with a wolf. And this would explain it not having a fear of humans. Now, of course, some speculate that it was a disgruntled farmer that dressed his dog in animal skins or pig hide just to cause chaos. So, hound of Baskervilles. The next theory is considered the circus escape theory.
There's always one.
Many noblemen and royal families kept their own menageries and personal zoos. It is possible that some exotic animal, like a hyena, escaped and, being hungry, was led to feed on innocent villagers. Now, it's worth noting that no escaped animals had been reported, but it is highly unlikely that once the killing started, anyone would own up to losing one of these animals.
The noblemen don't care.
I don't know. I don't know if they'd own up to it, honestly. I don't know if they're like, oh, shit, that was my
hyena.
Yeah. That was my hyena. We're just going to let that go. So, sorry, little Betty, you're just going to have to die if they catch you, or something.
So it was highly unlikely that they just lose one, that they were going to report that they lost it after the killing started.
Marquis, your hyena has escaped. C'est la vie.
C'est la vie.
Then we have the other theory, which is the most dangerous animal theory, that it was actually a person. There were theories that the Beast of Gévaudan was actually a serial killer, no wolf required, that the person would drape themselves in wolf pelts and imitate a wolf or a werewolf in order to disguise their murderous crimes. Or you could have had a killer who actually believed himself to be a werewolf. There is a condition called lycanthropy that describes this kind of thought process. But let me tell you what the most likely culprit is. I'm going to try to see if I can figure out what the Beast of Gévaudan is. The most likely culprit is an exotic animal, specifically a lion. Specifically, a juvenile male lion. It doesn't develop a mane until they're between 1 and 2 years of age. They have a reddish tan coat and a dark line of fur that runs down their backs. The huge paws have sharp talon-like claws, and they are able to pull themselves up onto their back legs, and they can move and jump large distances very swiftly. And finally, when they are hunting, they attack their prey by the head or the throat.
Okay.
But whatever your theory is on the identity of the Beast of Gévaudan, it is a story that has puzzled historians and experts alike for more than 300 years. It is likely that the truth will never be known because no genetic or forensic evidence remains. It was a cunning and crafty killer that terrorized the region of Gévaudan for 3 years. Now, the south of France is lovely this time of year, I hear, but it would be ill-advised to take a stroll in the French woods because you might come face to face with one of history's most well-documented beasts.
I'm going to actually say, that's true. That statement. I don't think, because this beast falls into a cryptid category, obviously, and I don't know if, let me get this picture off Ryan's face. So I don't know. I don't know if we've ever, number one, heard of or talked about on this podcast about one that is so well documented.
No, I don't think so.
It's documented in church records because you see, when the victims were found, they were buried, and they had they noted the manner of death. And it was claw marks. Now, again, France was filled with wolves. I mean, especially the Gévaudan region. And, the argument might be made, there was an argument that I read that it was, rabid hyenas. Well, first of all, Hyenas, they're more scavengers than
Mhm.
hunters. And the
Right.
only, I had to dig into this, the only hyena that actually hunts is the striped hyena. And no one reported that the animal had stripes.
Mhm.
Also, they also, they threw in the idea of rabbit. Well, here's the thing. Once rabies sets in, the symptoms last only about 7 days, and then pretty much the animal's done for once they start exhibiting symptoms. Also,
Mhm.
they can't swallow because you see they become very thirsty and their throat begins to close, and things that a rabbit normally can't eat.
Mhm.
So
Right.
you can't, and the people that survived didn't have rabies. So you can
Hmm.
kind of rule out the rabid theory of a rabid animal doing this. So it's my opinion. Go ahead.
Do we know? Did you look into it all? Like maybe the climate of the region? Region? What the hell is that?
I mean,
Region?
it was a
Like France?
it's south of France. It was rocky, mountainous.
But the south of France is also pretty warm year round, is it not?
Yeah,
because
it's
so it
well,
could support a
Okay,
lion. I think the lion could live there.
Mediterranean climate with
Yeah,
hot,
a
dry
Mediterranean
summers,
climate.
mild and
Yep.
dry winters, and warm
Yeah.
springs and autumns. Okay,
Yeah.
so that's where I was going. I was like, I know, obviously, I haven't been to the South of France, so I
Right.
don't know what their climate's like. I was trying to figure out if their climate could support,
Right.
like a lion, possibly.
I mean,
And it
because I
could.
think you're right across the Strait of Gibraltar from Africa, I believe, or maybe you're getting like more. Is Gévaudan closer to like the Spanish?
It's in the south of France.
Yeah, but like what part of the south of France? Do
I
you remember?
didn't open up a geography book. No.
Okay. I'm saying because if it's closer and it is closer to that.
I got you, Ryan. Just
Spanish
keep talking.
side.
Just keep talking. I got
It's
you, my
closer to
friend.
the Spanish side. Like I said, it's not that far. Like it's right across the water from Africa. So
here is where the
makes
region
sense.
of Gévaudan is on a map.
Oh, okay.
So we're talking
that's getting pretty
about
close.
yes, that literally towards the very south of France.
Okay.
So
Okay.
that gives you an idea of where we're talking about.
Right.
And
so,
the royals did import animals from Africa. I mean, they imported animals from all over the world. Kings were gifted. Remember the story of Petrus Gonsalves?
Right.
Kings were gifted rare and unique animals as presents. So they very much had menageries of animals and personal
it's not
zoos.
Out of the realm that a lion could have escaped of some sorts.
Correct.
Right.
And survived.
If you
in
think
this
about
region.
it, the animal would have had to have been captured, then transported to a vessel. The vessel would have had to sail the ocean. They'd have to unload the animal. They would have to then transport the animal and then finally get it to where it would be. There is at any point that animal could have escaped.
Right.
And if it never gets the king, then the king didn't know he, was missing it.
Well, while you were telling the story, it reminded me, and I believe it was Sarajevo, the two lions that ended up going on a killing spree.
Those are the lions of Salvo.
Yeah. And that's what it was reminding me of. I mean, like if once they get a taste for human flesh, you get I mean, it's over. And so
then. if you guys don't know the story of the lions of Salvo, it was a pair of lions that began to hunt humans. And they learned how to hunt humans. They both were very old, and the humans became easier prey, and they preyed on the old and the young, and things that they were a human was easier to catch than a gazelle or an antelope or anything like that. And so these lions actually developed a taste, and they hunted humans. So this pair of lions, the lions of Salvo, Tsalvo, go look it up. It's fascinating and terrifying. It's a terrifying story.
And that's kind of what it reminded me of. And two, it's amazing how things stay the same and change at the same time, because so many of the elements of this story we're talking about, the hunt, the bounty, reminded me of the Legend of Boggy Creek. All of a sudden, all these people start showing up in the woods, hunting for this stuff and messing up people's farms. And then, it's really interesting to see the parallels from so many different stories in this story as well.
Right. Like I said, wolf attacks were not unusual in this area of France. And, you're out there with basically the prey, but normally wolves would go after the sheep or the livestock and very rarely after the humans. But when a human tried to defend their flock, they would, the wolves would attack them.
But here's the thing. This region, you just said it, it's not that wolf attacks were uncommon.
They weren't in
between livestock or
Mhm.
humans
Right.
trying to defend their
Right.
flock.
Mhm.
So this region, these people are going to know what a wolf attack
Right.
That's
looks
exactly
like.
right. They know what a
So
wolf
Right.
is.
when they're going,
Mhm.
what the hell? This thing's taking it by the throat, by the head, and all this crap that can't be explained. I don't know.
And wolves would have
Yeah.
the behavior of a dog, because they're in the same canine family. They would nip and bite, and
Mhm.
wolves do that. They will nip and bite, and
Mhm.
go for arms, legs, something like that. But if you think of the characteristics of a lion, when they hunt, it is
Right.
big, wrapping throat, pull it down. If you think of all those, National Geographic Wild Kingdom animal shows you saw, when
Mhm.
you see a lion, run it down. It moves swiftly, and it pounces on its prey, and it grabs it by the throat, and it drags it to the ground, and then it drags it away.
Mhm.
So this particular one, and here's the thing: the people in that area, many of them had never been outside the confines of Gévaudan,
Right.
Right.
so they didn't. They could very well not have known even what a
Right.
lion was.
And with the description of hooves with claws, to them, that's what paws on a lion would have looked like.
Right?
Because
They
that's
they
their
were
reference
divided.
point.
Yeah, they were
Yeah.
divided like this. So of course, until the claws come out, the paw
Mhm.
looks like that. I can see how
Right.
that would be a description. It is most likely is a lion. And look at that. Duhamel may have gotten it right,
Mhm.
because he, being in the French court, may have very well seen a lion and knew what a
Right.
lion was. So
Also, if a
But
lion doesn't want to be found, it's not going to be found. So that explains why people couldn't catch it.
and they could be up in a tree when everyone's looking on the
Mhm.
ground. The lion could be right above.
Right.
Oh, that's true. I didn't even think about that.
I mean, think about your cat. Your cat can rear up and play with a toy. So can a lion. It can get up on its hind
Mhm.
legs. I think it was a lion.
That's what it sounds like to me.
And I just had to look this up. I'm sorry, because I was got all these questions are coming up in my brain. I actually think I'm going to jump on board with that theory about it being a lion, because it's just perfect how it all lines in. But I just read this: a lion's skin is about 4 inches thick and feels like hard rubber. So we're talking about lion skin versus
Musket balls.
Right.
musket balls.
Yeah.
No
Then finally, they were
wonder.
probably being shot from over 100.
So no
Right.
wonder
whatever.
it's appearing to be
Bounce
Mhm.
off.
bulletproof.
Right. That you might be able to knock
Until
it down, and then it's going to get right back up.
right, but until the final showdown, whenever the bullets are melted down,
And it was a
reformed,
flintlock gun.
and it was a
Mhm.
flintlock
gun
gun.
Right.
Yeah.
with a silver bullet, not a musket ball.
Mhm.
I still like the theory of the werewolf. So Shelley,
I like the werewolf.
I'm gonna
theory,
need
too.
to know. I'm gonna need to know. Did every single of the over 300 deaths, you researched every single one, did they coincide with the phases of the moon, right? That's what you were
Of
going to
course, yes, it did.
tell us? Got hungry when there was like a full moon or something like that. That's when the attacks happened. Because you looked at all 300, right?
Yes, everyone. Because you see, I only picked out the most fascinating. I did leave
Right.
out one of whatever this beast was. Actually leapt over a high stone wall
Mhm.
into the yard of a lady who had her children in the backyard. The children were playing, and it grabbed the infant and jumped back over the wall. The lady was very pregnant, and she
Mhm.
went over the wall in chase, gave chase to this animal. She grabbed it by, as they put it, by the balls. She grabbed it by the balls. She caught it by the balls, and it turned around, it dropped her child, and went after her.
Oh,
But
shit.
what she described was something that could leap high fences.
Right.
Yet that agility does not belong
No.
to a wolf. That
Mm-mm.
agility belongs to a member
That-
of the
that's-
cat family.
Right.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's
Mhm.
a feline trait. That's a feline
Yes.
trait. So that's
Mhm.
got to be. Yeah. I don't know. What are we saying? Not.
I'm
Cryptid?
gonna go lion too.
But
I
it would.
think
But
that's what it
it
is.
probably would have been a cryptid-like creature to them.
To
you
them,
know?
yes.
I
Oh
mean,
yes, to them.
Right.
Maybe not
They
to-
more than
maybe not
likely
to
never
the-
seen it.
Yeah, maybe not to
Right.
the king, maybe not to anybody of royal court or anything like that,
Right.
but possibly to the villagers and the
peasants,
farmers
these
and
poor
peasants and stuff. Yeah.
Peasants in the
Yeah.
village
Right.
who never had the money or ability, really mobility, to travel any farther than their own backyard.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That probably every creature that wasn't a local creature like a wolf or whatever, they didn't know what it was. It was some magical cryptid beast.
Yeah.
So I really, this is one that, and now you read anything, every article you read, whoever is writing it has their own theory, and none of them agree. None of them agree. Like all of these little theories I laid out for you here about, is it the big bad wolf, is it a big badass wolf? Like one guy is convinced it's a big wolf, another guy is convinced it was a werewolf, another guy is convinced it's a dire wolf. And so I'm taking all these theories and I'm like laying them down. I'm going, it's the most likely culprit. And whenever this guy, I found what he wrote, and he came up on lion, and he's laying it out.
Yeah.
And he spoke with a British accent, so he had a lot of credibility to me, just because he was British. The way he explained it.
That's all it takes for Shelley.
It really is.
I'm like, for credibility, you have to have a British accent. For you, for her
Australian.
to, I was gonna say, for her to sleep with you, it has to be Australian. So
yeah, that's true. That's true. Get it right. Yeah.
So most of the articles you read, though, were there more that said werewolf versus lion, or were there just a few that?
The majority of them land on extraordinarily large wolf.
Okay.
Yeah.
The other majority land on wolf dog hybrid.
Okay.
And the rest of them
I can
have
see
the
that.
other theories in between.
Right.
I mean, I can see that because I don't think that a lot of people are going to take out the context of the menageries, the zoos, the exotic animals that royalty is known to ship back home and kept.
Yeah.
And this could have been easily something that escaped.
Mhm.
Wouldn't it have been
if you think about
shitty
it-
though? Wouldn't it have been shitty though? King Louis was sitting there like, shit, that's my pet. Well, I'm gonna have to kill him now. Might as well put a reward out for it. Let's make it look like I'm not a culprit.
Well, and you have to remember, whenever you bring an animal hunts in its area, and it
Right.
knows what the prey looks like. It knows what it should eat.
Right.
If you have brought in this lion from Africa who has now escaped and is in France, its prey, its normal food source is not there.
Mm-hmm.
So it has to adapt, and I would think that it wouldn't know what it was supposed to eat and what it wasn't, but it knows that it preys on things that are smaller, that separate from the herd, literally, and the person tending their flock would of course be walking around to round them up and would be lagging behind to push them on its way, and that would be something that would attract a lion. But a lion wouldn't necessarily know, oh wait, that's a person, not supposed to eat that French cuisine because that'll get me shot. So if its normal food source wasn't available, so it had to adapt and find another.
Right.
That is very interesting as well. Sorry, like I said, all these questions are coming up in my brain, so I'm like Googling them like on the spot for me.
Am I doing pretty good about answering them?
Yeah, no, you're doing real good. My only thing is like things I know that you probably wouldn't have looked into, like how big is a lion's territory? A normal lion's
it can be up to 100 miles.
Yeah.
Well, another, or it says that their territory can vary widely from 8 to 155 square miles. Gévaudan, the region that's being, ravaged by this, was roughly only 56 to 50 square miles. So this is, it can be very possible that that's the area that they roam, because they roam anywhere between, as I just looked up, 3.7 to 5 miles a day. So
it's covering all that
very
ground and killing
possible
all those peasants.
that it could have been spotted.
Look at
in
EVP.
Very different locations. Yeah.
Look at EVP solving that. No, I'm just kidding.
Solving all the
And this has been your episode of Wild Kingdom with you.
Yeah, no shit. Thanks for tuning into that one channel that we're not going to name because they don't pay us. Anyways. AP channel.
Yeah.
So, gentlemen, I know that this isn't a long episode, but this is
it's
if you want to
interesting as
look
hell.
more into the Beast of Gévaudan, I highly recommend it. There are as many theories as there are stories, and I gave you two of the stories. Most of them that you could find are extremely gruesome. They're extremely gruesome, and I kind of whittled them down as best I could, leaving the main parts of the story. If you want to hear about disembowelments and all that kind of stuff, read the stories. They're quite graphic. But anyway, so final thoughts on the Beast of Gévaudan, gentlemen?
I think we're all in agreement that it was a lion, right?
Werewolf, Mothman. It's always Mothman.
Yeah,
Answer
Mothman.
is Mothman every time. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that I'm after looking up a couple more facts about the size of a territory and the thickness of a lion's skin. Yeah, I think the Beast of Gévaudan is definitely an escaped lion. It would just make sense because I was going to say, as you were talking about like the food source and things like that, lions know to go after the small, the young, and like kind of all that stuff. So it may have registered something in its brain, like these children that it is taking is about the size of its prey back home if it was a lion that had escaped from captivity. So yeah, I got to rest on final verdict for me, lion, I think.
Yeah.
In southern France, go figure.
I'm going to say lion too, because all the descriptors line up: the reddish hair, the stripe down its back, the fluffy tail, the hooves with claws in it, and
the hooves
also
with claws.
yeah, the hooves with claws, and then its thick skin and its ability to get up after getting hit with musket balls. That's what it sounds like to me.
Sorry, it just sounds funny. Right. Ryan gets very emphatic.
I know.
What can we say?
Well, gentlemen, I am also in agreement, and I do believe that the most likely culprit is a misplaced lion. But go read the stories and check it out for yourself and see what you come up with. And with that, Blake, why don't you tell them everything that they need to know?
Absolutely. Sounds good. Well, After Dark with EVP Season 2 is happening right now every week on Paraflix Paranormal Plus, with new episodes dropping every Thursday at 7 p.m. This week, I don't know if it's good or bad, but we have the wonderful special guests, Nick Simons and Aaron G. Thompson from 28 Days Haunted. On this week. So just letting you know, we have a disclaimer at the beginning of that episode because they forced us to put one on there. Well, Paraflix Paranormal Plus is available on Amazon Fire, Roku TV, Apple TV, iOS, and Google Play. So make sure you use our link to sign up, which will be posted to our Facebook page tomorrow via our link tree. And is also in the show notes for you audio listeners as well. You use that code AFTERDARK25 for 25% off your annual subscription. So we'll put that on our Facebook. That link tree is also going to have every social media channel we are on, our online merchandise store, our public investigations, and our Patreon page. Our Patreon page is the fastest and easiest way you can directly help support the show. For just $5 a month, you will gain access to over 350 additional Patreon exclusive videos. Your support from this goes directly to the show and all the ghostly adventures that we get to bring you week after week. This price will never change. And with that, you currently get our pre and post broadcasts, which are the 30 minutes before and the 30 minutes after this live broadcast, where we discuss things a little bit further and tell very personal stories. If you want to know how Ryan clogged a toilet, go watch it.
Hey, it happens.
I'm just saying. Our Patreon, it also includes our Patreon exclusive raw and unedited investigation footage. We've got full length Estes methods up, investigation clips, also some really funny and very dirty moments as well during Estes methods. So if you ever wanted to review and watch some raw paranormal evidence, now is your chance. That is only on Patreon. Don't forget, we are also offering that 7-day free trial for our Patreon page, so you can check it out prior to purchasing. Real quick side note before I continue this closing. Next month, we are kicking off our 3rd annual Ferocious Female Month. So next month is all about the female baddies. So be ready. But if you'd like to spend some time with us in person, our next spot that we are going to be is in Broadhead, Wisconsin at Broadhead Manor on June 1st and June 2nd for Spirits in the Spring. That is going to be a wonderful Paracon. I know we're going to be there. I know Patty Negri is going to be there. Nick Sarlo with Shadow Hunters is going to be there. You will get to investigate Broadhead Manor if you purchase the ticket. All of that, it is a charity Paracon, which I absolutely love. So it is cash at the door. No tickets can be purchased beforehand. So just know that. We will also be announcing additional Paracons we will be at later on in the year. So make sure you tune into our social media channels to stay up to tune for that. So you can do that by searching Everything Vaguely Paranormal on whatever social platform you want. Look for that green sound wave. And remember, you audio listeners out there, you can always tune into us live on Facebook and YouTube each and every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. These are all the ways you can directly support Everything Vaguely Paranormal, but we also appreciate your love and support for us. So those likes, comments, shares, views, and downloads. And remember, as always, any questions, comments, stories you'd like to share with us, those can be submitted to us at the evppod@gmail.com. That is THEEVPPOD@gmail.com.
Like, share, and subscribe. So we want to thank you guys for joining us this week on Everything Vaguely Paranormal. I'm Shelley Pruitt, and for my partners in the paranormal, Mr. Blake Smith and Mr. Ryan Roberts, we want to thank you. And as always, we will see you next Tuesday. Bye-bye.
Bye, y'all.
Bye, y'all.